honesty in my heart and in my soul. I'm a magnet for the gold. Watch the story be told. Every dream I choose is taking control. I rise and I glow. My worth overflow. Abundance walks with me wherever I go. I speak light and the world responds. Every thought I plant grows strong. I'm aligned with the life I want. My future pulls me like a cosmic bomb.
To the ancestors, known and unknown, Ashe. To the gods, known and unknown, Ashe. All the praise, all the glory be to the Most High. What's going on, guys? It's your favorite Cosmic Warrior, back at you with another galactic transmission. So I got this message a couple days ago, and I've been sitting on it. Wasn't sure where it was going. And then, just the way that we learn that Spirit speaks to us, it unravels sometimes. We get bits and pieces of the information, bits and pieces of the message here, and bits and pieces there. And then, we put it together, right? First card I found this Uno card, right? Uno reverse. And then I caught a message off of a song, and it was talking about changing our mindset. And so I sat on that for a while, thinking about that. And then the next card I found, nowhere near it, right? Nowhere near it. I found this next card. And I don't know if you can see, but you can see the turtles, right? Turtles. Longevity. Wisdom. Three turtles. The Trinity. But it's the wisdom, it's the unity, the mind, the body, the soul. It's the unity, the connection, the alignment. And, of course, that card is the Nine of Hearts, which the Nine of Hearts also speaks about wisdom. But changing our mindsets. Pulling that Uno reverse card, changing our mindsets. But it's changing our mindsets, and then it's integrating the new wisdom. It's integrating the things that we just learned, right? And then, I had a conversation today, right? I had a conversation with this guy talking about replacing his battery for his vehicle, right? And, just in conversation, we got talking about how, nothing's made how it was used to, right? But when I thought about it, it's like, everything was made then and is still made today as it is intended to. The only difference is, back then things were made with the intention of lasting a while. With people not having to replace it, with people were having to do maintenance on it, being able to do it themselves. But the difference is now the mindset shifted. The mindset completely changed to the intended purposes. The intended purposes is still the same. The intended purposes of things now is for it to break down. Is for it to deteriorate for a matter of time. It's designed perfectly. Our phones designed perfectly to break just in time for the next phone that came out. And is it a coincidence that we get these viruses installed by the same companies to force us to upgrade to the new ones? It's all a fucking scam. It's all a fucking scheme. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit that, that we allow them to get away with it. We just play along. Ignorance is bliss, right? Well, but it's also a burden to know. A burden to know what? But the Uno reverse, but it's not just that. It's our mindsets. It's everything that we changed. We went and we banned and outlawed all natural ways of doing things. And what did we replace it with? With man's ways? We replaced it with everything of the Most High, everything of natural healing ways. And we took that and we replaced it with man's poison. And we called it medicine. Witchcraft is what it is. In every form. We changed it. And how I see it play out, I see it play out today. I have a conversation with someone, right? And to hear him talk about, losing his wife and the struggle, through her medical struggles, right? And then she's been gone for a while, but he's still stuck with, the loss of that, the bills, and then not even that. It's he's put his whole life on the hold. His whole life went on the hold so he could slave away and work to help his wife is what he thinks he's doing. But our doctors they're not, the system's not made to heal people. The system's designed to keep you sick, and they profit off your death. They profit off you every way except for healing you. And so yes, the system does exactly what it's intended to do. It does exactly what it's intended to do. And it's, what do I bring that up in conversation while I'm talking to this? These are the thoughts that go through my mind. I already know. And so by having conversation with this dude, I feel for him. But it's not even that. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It's not from lack of breakthroughs. It's not from, it's straight suppression of information and knowledge. And not even that. It's man thinking that they know what's best. Man, for what? It's not even man thinking they know what's best, because we clearly know it's not healthy for us. We clearly know the ones at the top know what they're doing. And think the government doesn't know either? Of course they do. The government likes to bend you over, slap your ass, and pull your hair and skull fuck you till next Tuesday too. They all like to give us a good skull fucking. So that was part of the conversation. That was part of the message that came in. But that was just through conversations that I had today. Right? But also, the personal message I got was just, I talk about knowing yourself. How many restrictions did I just got 4 restrictions, and for what? Who knows? Who cares? I could care less. But it's, knowing yourself. I talk about knowing yourself. Who am I? Who do I perceive myself? Who do I know myself as? A student, a cosmic student, a universe student, a teacher. Because we're all both. We're both the teacher and the student. At least we're supposed to be. I recognize myself as, a cosmic traveler, an old soul, one of many returned, one of many remembering. But it's the funny thing is we never learned anything. We only remember. But it's like to know yourself. It's just remembering yourself. But to remember yourself, it's not an easy journey. Finding yourself, remembering yourself. It's, a lot of things, it's all described, but it's all the same thing. But what is it? It's, changing our mindsets with everything, the way that we perceive ourselves. Because, when we change the way that we perceive ourselves, once we're able to change the way we perceive ourselves, then we're able to change the way that we perceive the world. But we can't change the way we perceive the world if we can't even change the way that we perceive ourselves. A lot of us get stuck right there. We limit ourselves right there. We hold ourselves back right there. It's a lot easier to point a finger and shift the blame and push the blame. It's really easy to do that. But accountability. Most of it all falls back to accountability. Because in one way, shape, or form or another, everything's all meant to teach us something. Everything. They're definitely not all pleasant lessons. They're not. But a lesson is a lesson nonetheless. And if it's not pleasant, I try my best to make sure I learned it because I don't want to do it again. You take the information you learned and you integrate it. But it's a constant battle. It's a constant battle fighting your mind, fighting your vessel, fighting, addictions, habits, But I say that and people automatically think drugs, food. But the worst part is a lot of it's poison that we're addicted to. A lot of us have never even tasted. Well, the funny part is a lot of people think they know starvation. But a lot of people never even felt true starvation. But what it is, it's the parasites. It's cravings from the parasites. That's what it is. Most people have never even gotten true nutrients to begin with anyways. So you wouldn't know what true starvation is. You've been starving yourself your whole life. But you mask it, and we feed it with poison. And we calm the parasites down, and we keep them happy. And we indulge, and we sit around and get lazy, and we keep indulging, and we fill ourselves up with more and more parasites. And we never cleanse our temple. I wonder why we hold back. But pointing down, looking down, keeping our head down. Keeping our head down, and the only time we keep our head down is to make sure we're still on track with the path. Because if I'm looking up, I can't see with all this fog because I can't see like 2 feet in front of me. So I that's the only time I'm looking down to make sure my feet are still aligned. But it's your mindset. It all goes back to your mindset. Everything all goes back to your mindset. Your mind is the battlefield. You can either be its commander or be its soldier. It's really as simple as that. Well, it's as simple as that, but it's not as simple as that. It's a tough fucking battle. The mental battles. There's so many battles. The battles of the mental. But a lot of people, they can't even conquer, minuscule battles of their mind, and they think they're going to go out and conquer the world. They think their money can, they think that, they can't conquer anything in their mind, but they think that their money can buy them the world. Can't hold it. You know what I mean? But not even that. It's what do we put our value into? What do we value? And not even that. It's people think we hold wisdom. We think we hold knowledge, but do we? But it's internal knowledge, though. Internal knowledge, you can't pay for it. It's life experiences and integrating. The shadow work. You can't buy that. You can't skip that stages. You can't do that. It's only earned. But then you earn it, and then what? Then it's our job. It's our obligation to show people how we switched it up. Like what worked for us. Like what we had to change that worked for us. It's our job. It's our obligation. Each one teach one. One hand washes another. Both hands wash the face. We're all fighting the same demons, the same devils, and most time it's ourselves. Our mindsets, our attachments, our habits, it's ourselves. Our choices, our actions, our decisions, our non-actions, you know what I mean? It's a lot of it's us. But the first step is being able to perceive it that way. Because it's a whole lot of accountability. And who wants to hold that load? Who wants to hold that weight? Not many people. Many are called, or few are chosen. Everyone's called, but few choose to pick up the burdens. But that's interesting too. One hand washes another, both hands wash the face. But it's alignment. It's multiple people in alignment, but all united. The connectedness, the oneness. But it's also 2-9, birthing, manifesting, creation. That's the interesting, the union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. That's the only way to find that true balance, to truly free yourself and save yourself. Because no one's coming to save you, Buttercup. You got to save yourself. But the only way to do that is to find a balance of the masculine and feminine. Well, first you got to acknowledge that you have both. It's like, well, isn't it obvious to us? Like, you see the butchy lesbians, and it's like, okay, well, you're heavy on the masculine. It's obvious to us. So, like, we know these things, but it's finding the balance. It's really obvious when it's out of balance. It's really obvious when it's heavy on one side, and it's really even more obvious when it's the off balance. You know what I mean? Like when a masculine is really heavy on the feminine, or feminine is really heavy on the masculine side of it. It's blatantly obvious if you have eyes, or even if you have ears. You can't hear it. You can't hear the difference. It's obvious. It's interesting too. It's obvious. I saw this video, and it was like some gay pride parade or something, and they stopped and asked this dude all dressed up in rainbows how many genders there were, and he's like, I'm old school gay. He's like, I'm old school gay. There's only 2 genders. You know what I mean? It's like, can we bring back these old school mindsets? Can we bring these back? People wonder why things were so different back in the day. Why things look so different. Well, the lighting, it does what it's intended to do. Of course it does. They forced us. They legalized it. They forced us. As if it wasn't bad enough that all the light bulb companies came together and said, you know what, our light bulbs are lasting too long. Let's make it so they break and people have to replace them. And they go, okay, now they're making mad money off of us doing it that way. Then the government says, oh, you know what, we can control people when we change the lightings. So we're going to outlaw that. We're going to ban that. And we're going to, these other buddies of ours, they're going to profit off of making these new light bulbs. And we're going to force everyone to do this, pay for this new thing that's harmful for us. And we legalized it. Catch more bans for that. More fucking warnings. Ooh. Fuck your warnings. Fucking pussy ass site. Fucking. Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. That's the message. But thanks for tapping in. And until next time.